Hi everyone, welcome to episode 12 of The Aspiring STEM Geek. In this episode, I talked to Jeffin Johnykutty. Jeffin is a computer science graduate student at Temple University. In the episode, we talk about how Jeffin got into programming, sports analytics, WWE, holding a leadership position at university, video games, and an AI paper that Jeffin and his colleagues wrote at Temple University. I hope you enjoy. Jeffin Johnykutty, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Pleasure to be here.
All right.
Yeah.
As always, I'm excited for this one. This is going to be a tech, AI, ML heavy podcast, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, let's get started.
All right. As with all my guests, I want to start at the beginning. When did you first start getting interested in tech and computers?
So, the first time I got introduced to tech and computers is when I was like a little kid. So when I was a little kid, I got my own Nintendo DS, a PSP, and I play all the games where I have older brothers. So the games they play, I play as a kid, and I shouldn't be able to play it because I was a kid. But I was a heavy gamer as a kid. So those handheld devices is pretty cool. Then later on, like I got a Nintendo Wii as well. We played Mario Kart Classic, yeah, and also Lego Batman, the original one.
Okay,
it's fire. Yeah, if you go on YouTube, it's like fire.
I actually never heard of Lego Batman. I will say the Wii was super cool with Wii Sports and everything, and
that too.
Yeah. The baseball one where I really enjoyed that one. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah. So yeah, my favorite one is boxing.
Yeah.
It's like just spam like fist punching everything. So, and then after that, later on, my dad got me a Xbox 360 Connect for me and my brothers as a Christmas gift. That's where like everything changed, man. Cause like when you have the Wii, you have to have the remote with you, right? While the Kinect is a sensor, so you don't need it. So when I got it, it was super cool. I played Kinect Adventures, Fruit Ninja, etc. But that's my like first introduction to tech. But when I really want to like do like computer science, computer engineering, I was in high school, and the high school I go to, they just created these courses, elective courses that related to computer science. So I took 2 out of 3. The first course I took was game development, and it was like, what's it called?
In high school? That's wild.
In high school. Well, it sounds crazy, but we use, in all these courses, like the elective courses, they use like code.org or like another website for like curriculum. So
just a web interpreter, just online.
Yeah, it's just a web interpreter. So the first course, I was in a class where they just first started the course. So I was like one of the first few people to ever like take the course. So basically all those courses were like taught by like math teachers. And there's this one math teacher. He didn't know, like, he didn't have like an expertise in programming when he first started teaching the course. However, what's crazy is that when we learn, he also learned as well. So when we learn like the first 2 modules, he's always also on module 4. And in every class, he's like, all right, guys, just complete this module, is all set. So there's like lack of teaching, in-person teaching, because we're using like a website, a web interpreter, but it was pretty fun, and he's a really great teacher. And what's crazy is that I took him for honors calc in senior year, and he's really good. So yeah, God bless him. But I also took in my senior year AP computer science. It's just for AP credits. I took it in 2019. So I know like for AP courses, you either have to take an exam or do a project or both for some of the classes. But since the pandemic hit, they canceled the exam portion of it. So all the way goes towards the project. So that course, it was all like an intro to JavaScript, not like related to web development, but it was basically like how to all the basic like logical structure, like how to write a for loop in JavaScript, how to write like initialize and assign a variable in JavaScript syntax, and you like use a console. And then we had to create like a project for AP course, and I forgot what my project was. I think I built like a game using block coding from a website. But I worked with someone else, and yeah, I did really well on it. But
Nice.
when
Do you have any screenshots or videos from back then?
I don't, I forgot the website. Well, I could like, I mean, I could send it to you when if I look up for the website. But it was like, it's like one of those websites sponsored by like the what's it called? I forgot the AP. I forget. There's like a company that owns for APs exams and that stuff. But other than that, when I want to like in the process like filling out common app like college applications, I picked Temple as like my top school to go because like I could easily travel there and etc. But I didn't know what major to pick when I started on like every senior. So I just picked at first I picked physical therapy, and then because I thought like okay, because I took like a human anatomy class and I did okay on it. I did well. But then I realized like there's also computer science like majors as well. So I was like, okay, I could pick with that. And the process all started. And based on my experience on those courses in high school, I think I have like a good head start, like a tiny bit head start, one in my freshman year. So out of all of that, that's how I got introduced to tech. I got introduced to like how to like programming and so on and so forth.
Yeah, JavaScript's it's an interesting language. I really don't do much with it. My first language, I also got into coding very late in my 20s, but I can imagine it just the curly braces sometimes. I get curly brace eye. Just it's so hard for me to track sometimes.
You know what I do before is, like when you write a line of code, like say you're writing a function and then you have to add the open curly brace and then the closing. So like the popular format is brace, right? Like the open one right next to the line and then the close at the end. That's how you do it. But because like I think that looks weird at first, I just add the opening curly brace right below the coding line, the code line. So it's like the line of, like for a function is like the function line, open curly brace, closing curly brace. So it makes make my look pleasing to my eyes. But usually like when I look at open source code, it was like totally the opposite, like the other way. It was like, but I got used to it and I stick with that then. So other people could read my code well.
Yeah, if it works for you, I'm working with a language called Dart right now, and there's just like 10, 12 curly braces at the end, and I'm like, oh man, I can't keep track of this. But yeah, it's a cool language to learn, and a lot of the web is based off JavaScript, so that's super valuable to know as your first language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you declared computer science as your major when in your freshman year. Did you, and during your time in undergrad, did you have a favorite class that you had at Temple?
Yeah, well, so my favorite class is actually like later in the program. There's this course called software design. I took it in my fall semester of my senior year. And it's mainly the main point of that course is to prepare for the capstone project, which those who don't know is like a course you take, which is basically a graduation project. You work with other people, and if you do well on it, is a requirement for you to graduate. So it's like usually for like students, it's like the last step to take before applying for graduation. So that course really helped me a lot because the professor was really good at it, and he helped me differentiate like the past courses before that was just like learning a programming language, learning like some design skills. So like object oriented, if you're dealing with like a OOP, like a object oriented programming language, then you gotta learn like these things. But it's on like developing a program. But here is basically the big overview of developing software. So you learn about, if you're working like, for example, at a company or a team, you learn about agile, scrum. You also learn about the life cycle of software development, so planning, um, designing, developing, testing in a cycle, repeat. And it's basically like a whole overview. It gave me an introduction of like, oh, based on what I learned when I was like earlier in my undergrad program, how is this going to play out? And it's really gave me experience about like industry standard experience, I could say. Capstone really gave me a lot of it, but software design gave me an intro to it and all like the things I know, um, basically, and then working with like people that I knew for a long time. It's just like, yeah, overall, like that course is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I learned like a lot.
Yeah, that's very valuable because when I started coding, I worked in finance previously and then transitioning over trying to break into the tech field. And I'm definitely not a software engineer, but I do more ML data engineering right now. But we don't have a daily scrum, but we have a scrum 3 times a week. And working with other people is just so much more different. You can write your own code, you have your own project. Sometimes you can kind of remember how you put your code together. But the big thing I've really learned working on teams and with multiple people is lots of communication, code reviews to explain what you did or what somebody else did, and then also documentation. There have been projects that I've picked up that somebody else made previously, no documentation. There's like 20 modules that referencing all these different Python scripts because I mostly work with Python. And man, I want to tear my hair out because I'm just running all these scripts, debugging, like, oh, okay, there's a broken something in this script. But yeah, those are super, super valuable skills in the real world.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like without like VCS, version control system, and like platforms like GitHub and Jira for project management, without those tools, man, I don't think it's like working in a team is the best idea. So I was like, with those tools, I learned a lot about GitHub. I learned a lot about Jira, even though in my capstone I wasn't like the admin of it, but I understand like how tickets are being used and then doing well. So
just because I was in the stats department, I was in under the business school in the stats department. You actually had Jira. That's pretty cool that Temple had that.
Yeah, I mean, I had like a really great capstone professor. We're like friends right now because I'm doing my graduate program. But
which professor is it? Just to give a shout out.
All right, shout out to Ian Tyler Applebaum. I think you know him. He's
I usually don't, but I'm always happy to meet people, professors.
He's like, so he has like expertise in web development, and the amount of skills he has and talent are basically, because you know technology changes, like industry standard technology changes like every year, right? His talent, ability to change his syllabus each semester, because he's at like a young age, I think, yeah, he's like in his late 20s, which is crazy as a capstone professor, like for a graduation project.
I thought I was young as a professor.
Yeah, but his talent basically like having good research skills and like adapting industry standards like resources so students could experiment with it, and like reviewing projects and like critiquing projects during like a scrum environment at like a high level, act like if he's like a stakeholder, is like really impressive. And yeah, we became friends because at first he really loved my project. I'm gonna talk about it soon, but it's
yeah, we could just jump into the capstone if you want, and we could talk about the professor too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we could do that. So for my capstone, It was called Blastpad, and if you know, I know Jacob Snor. He did an episode with
Yeah,
you
I
last
was going
time.
to ask. I know that his capstone was pretty impressive. We didn't get a
Yeah,
chance to talk about it, but you were his teammate.
yeah, we're like great friends, and he's the lead of the project, and he did a really good job of leading the entire ship because the biggest challenge we had is adaptability because overall, like learning skills each week before for like three deadlines and try and make progress while learning is difficult, and it's even more difficult with a group of seven. So like like Jacob, he had a really good expertise on like hardware embedded systems, so he dealt with that, and I deal with like the front end portion of it. But overall, what my project was basically we made a kid friendly device like a Game Boy, for example, where kids could play their games they made using a built-in code editor we designed. So one of my members of the team, he basically he was really good at like server development, developing servers, and then he also dealt with like Flask that we use to basically manage like as like a brain of the entire process. And then we basically yeah, he basically created like a code editor using block coding. So kids can not only create their own game, but also learn how to program. And not only that, play their own game. But also we also have a sharing capability where we you could like have the software on the computer and then the device is here. So the users could play and share each other games. And it was a really complex device, and the fun demo was a success. My Ian really loved our project, like, and then we ever since then, like, yeah, we became good friends.
That's
But
awesome.
Snar did a great job. Shout out to Neil. He's the guy that does all the server management. Like the last minutes of like before a demo presentation, he's the guy that basically like hit make sure everything sets up in the back end as soon as possible. So we had to like augment different things in the back end, and it was really difficult. And we try to make sure it's very feasible. But like his talent was really good at basically trying to make sure everything is fit into place and everything looked good. Our final demo was super successful as a really tough project. So I really, and since that project, I really love like the adversity of it because the capstone like project there, it was a ton of work. However, since we did that successfully, it gave me like some good experience of like how to deal with like challenges that I don't know where to start in the beginning. But with all my friends and the people that I work with, is like yo, we did it for like what it was like it was a 4 month project. So
That's a good amount of time. What did you use for the hardware? Did you use a Raspberry Pi or some other microcontroller?
yeah, we used a Raspberry Pi with built-in hotspot. I forgot the model. It's like a W2. You have to look it up, but it has a built-in hotspot. We did everything at first in Python. So for when my portion of the front end of it, like the UI I develop, I try to use Tinker, which is a package of Python.
Yeah, I've worked with
It
tkinter before.
yeah, it I made it built UI. It was really hard to basically like connect it at first, but I built it. It went well. But the problem is that basically of how tkinter is being operated in our Raspberry Pi of all the stuff, it wasn't like one of the challenges. It wasn't compatible with like the other things. So it was compatible with Flask. However, it wasn't compatible with like what's it called? What is one of the for the back end portions of it, but because of it, Jacob, Neil, and the rest of the team, and Ian, we all decided to switch to JavaScript and a CSS framework, and then yeah,
For the front end or back end or both?
for the front end.
Makes
So
sense.
basically, we have our own OS in the Raspberry Pi, uses Linux, and then we basically just open up a tab, like a Chrome browser. I think it's a Chrome. We have Chrome in it. We open up a Chrome browser, and then it runs our software. But switching to that, just switching up and adapting to it was way faster because like we have experience with like web development. I have a little bit back then, but during that it was went in super well, and yeah, it was last minute. I think we switched it like 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks before the final demo.
Damn, that's
which in that case
that's
like
a
really
tight
bad.
deadline.
It was a tight deadline, but thankfully everything works out. Jacob, he did a lot of research of like the different style tools we could use. So make sure like, because one of the features for our like the UI is that we have customized themes. And I think in the one of the features, the user could like create their own theme for the UI, which is like, since we're targeting kids, is really good because they like good vibrant colors and want to make sure it's playful. But it's also being used in a classroom setting. So teachers, so in the server, so I say like there's like classroom server and like the teacher is like the head of it. So say like multiple kids have their own device, Blastpad device, even though we created one, but hypothetically, they could like play games, share each other in their own classroom for like safety concerns. And we also added like a security to it. So like if you want to join this classroom, what's the code? And we have like login as well. So it was built upon that, but Ian really helped us out to like make sure it's like everything starts to move because he really loved our project in the beginning and he was really like proud of us of like completing this thing. So it's like it was a great experience for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm kind of I don't do front end back end stuff too much, but I'm kind of doing a full stack thing on my own right now, so I can attest to how hard it is. And you have some login and there's an issue with the API call and trying to figure that out and troubleshoot like, is this a front end issue, is this a back end issue? So it is impressive to complete that in 4 months.
Yeah, I mean we had a great team.
Yeah.
That's all I could say. It's like people who have really good tech experiences coming together, tackling a project which we thought it might not be completed before the final demo, but we completed it and it was super successful. Like the demo, like I said, like I think during the final demo, I know it's a handheld device, it should be portable, but I think we still had to connect it to the computer as well. So because one of our sections for our demo was basically like transfer the UI, like the software, to a computer. So there's two people playing, so we could do the sharing portion. But it's supposed to be handheld. It was super good. You could connect to like a keyboard to it. So it has like a USB port, and then you could. I don't think it have an HDMI port. Not sure. It was the project we did was like a year ago. So overall, it was a great experience, and it was a great project for Temple. So
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And while you were at Temple, you eventually joined TUDev. You're the vice president right now. I was the president for a little bit. When did you exactly join TUDev? And you also know another former president, Sean Dutil, who was also on the podcast.
yeah, so shout out Sean. The first time I got introduced to TUDev is Sean was in my software design class as a student, and he just we were good friends, and then yeah, we were good friends, and then came up to me. It's like, yo, Jeff, I'm like the president of TUDev. If you don't know of it, basically just people like creating what they want to work on, one day want to create, and it's like we have these demo days, which is show tell, and we're able to critique. We could like ask questions. It's super cool. And he just invited me over to one of the first meetings. I think this was late 20. It was like early August 20, September 2024, if I can remember. But he really did. But when I got there, it was a great community, man. It was all students from like tech majors, who basically from freshman to senior. And Sean was there, and then people demoed their projects. I think we went to the Totem building at Temple to do it, and it was a great community. And it was even a greater community when he invited me to the Discord server, the TUDev Discord server, and then filled with like people who are alumni like you, but also like new freshman students, people who in their first semester in comp style IST, and basically like you basically have like a huge development. It's a server of over like 300 members accounting, so it's getting bigger each year. And then I went to a couple demos after that. End of my senior year, and then Sean graduated at May 2024. But I was planning to go to Temple for my grad school for my master's. So
which you're
because
currently in right now, right?
Yeah. But then the current president of TUDev, David Loiter, he basically Sean gave the keys to David to be the president of TUDev. However, when I was there for my first time, when Sean was president, him and his friends who was also board members, really great people. They all graduated like me at the same time. So, or they like went to different jobs, etc. But they basically it was only David, and David was like hitting the Discord server like, hey, you want to be part of the board? So it was so I just joined in. I just filled out an application. I had an interview with David. We also had a vice president for the last semester, Ellie Gwen. She was really good. She contributed a lot at Temple, same with Dave. And they made me as treasurer for the last year. And so that's how I got into the leadership of TUDev. That's how I heard of it. Once again, it's like currently like a great community. It's like very diverse. So like I see like I visit the Discord server every day because I'm part of like the moderators, and then people that like trying to he keeps seeing like new people who are like in their freshman year of their program, just asking questions about courses or if they need help into job prepping or just professional development or like topics related to tech. Is like an awesome like server to be part of. So
if you're a Temple student, join. Doesn't matter your major, just go for it.
Yeah, you could join. If you're any major in Temple, you can hop in and you can learn more about like tech and that stuff. So
yeah. So you eventually got to a leadership role. You're the vice president now, and you were kind of doing some corporate outreach. Do you want to talk about some of that stuff?
Yeah. So mainly, quick story. TUDev was doing well in 2016 regarding to like the engagement. I know that like most of the servers engage online, but it was doing well. The organization do in 2016, but like after the pandemic, it was still doing well, but it didn't do well compared to 2016. That's what David told me. That's what Sean told me. But
it was rough because that's when I was president.
Yeah. So I basically, we're gonna talk about this later because but one of my professors when I'm friends with, I'm also working under as well. His name's Steve. He's basically like a huge contributor to Temple. He basically like part of like the ACI lab, the ACM club, etc. So he's really good at like basically mentoring me. So I went up to him. It's like we had like a hour and 30-minute like talk in his office about my situation TUDev's in, because the demos are doing well. However, people are doing it online. The meetings were doing well. However, one of the things that we discussed about was basically there's like the ACM club, which you don't know is the Associated Computing Machinery. It's basically a club where tech majors, or basically if they want to talk to companies or set up career events. So you could like recruiters could come from companies to talk to major students. And that's they all been doing the same thing. So the past like year, I keep seeing like organizations doing the same, like for example, resume workshop, doing the same thing. And one thing Dr. Stephen McNeil, he told me is that basically everything's doing the same thing, and therefore there's like lack of value for each organization. And then he want to fix that. He basically wants to say, if you want the engagement for Temple like organizations to go up, you want to make sure that like each organization has their own unique value, and you should like focus on that value. So for TUDev, one thing we're really good at is basically not only like demoing and critiquing what people make, but also it being teaching people skills on an efficient level. So what his main plan for every organization is basically like identify your value of that organization and use it and collaborate with other organizations with a different value. So use like new students or current students will be part of the organizations, will increase the engagement of the CST community. So with that, he told me basically we both agreed that we want to play that route. And then so for TUDev, we started the past September and on, we created these things called technical workshops, which is basically we collaborate with an organization or a company, and anything they need to, the skill they need to know from the other organization or company, we want to like, we could easily and efficiently create a workshop for them to come for TUDev members, but also like other club members as well. So the first biggest one we did was we did a web dev technical workshop. And this is like the people that come here, they have like beginning experience of like programming or doesn't know programming at all. But it was basically helping them to gain the skills for their members and also helping the skills for our members to like turn out for meetings, collaborate, boost engagement for Temple. And then we basically did that, and it was really well. And the topic that we used Netlify. If you heard about that, it's just a cloud hosting service. Dave, he's basically like a wizard in the back end of like creating the agenda of all like the resources we needed. But we found a template and then we like modified it a lot to make sure it's like people follow it. And we host it on like a free Netflix account using a school account. And we basically like made that compile all that into agenda. And then we basically, it was a small class session, like a workshop. And we had people like helping the students if they need help. And it was super successful. A lot of people came, and we did a collaboration with that meeting with ACM, and it was super successful. Like people like it, and a lot of members went to our join our Discord as well.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And again, if you're a Temple student, join TUDev. All right. Well, let's move on to one of your internships that you had. You're a big sports fan. We're going to talk about football, American football. And you had a internship with a sports analytics company, and you focused on the NFL. Can you give a broad overview of how American football works to those that are outside of the U.S. and don't watch as much?
All right. So here in the States, I know like we call it soccer, but I also call it football in respect to I have friends in Europe as well. They call it football. I call it football when we talk about like football. But American football has another name called gridiron football. And the basic rules for it is the ball is an overshaped ball. It's like it's made out of like pigskin and that stuff. And there are two teams, the offense and the defense. And the goal of the offense is to run or pass the ball down the field to reach the opponent's end zone and score a touchdown, which is 6 points. The defense's job is to stop the offense from advancing the ball. So they'll be the offense, so the offense team of their team will be played. So two teams are playing. So like I said, a touchdown, 6 points. Each play is like the offensive team have 4 attempts called like four downs to reach to like a checkpoint marker to reset the amount of downs they have. If they don't reach it, so if they're on their last down, 4th down, and they'll reach the checkpoint, it's a turnover and it goes to the other ball. However, if they do, it resets to like 1st down just to make progress to reach the end of their goal. Special rules if they're near the touchdown zone for the offensive team, however, they're on their fourth down, they can either score and have the chance to like reach the checkpoint or the touchdown if it's first and goal. But if it's they could also kick a field goal, which is like if you watch a American football game and you see those like yellow posts at each end of the field, it basically kicker kick the ball through it is 3 points and so on. If not, it's a turnover. But if it's like a fourth down on their side of the ball, obviously like if they make the fourth down and they miss or is an incomplete play, then the ball turns over to the other team and they only have like say like 10 yards to score a touchdown, which is really bad for a team. So at their like fourth down, they punt the ball to the other side, so they have some room for the other offensive team to have like more yards to play, you know. So those are the basic rules. There's also special teams as well, but that's the overall scoring system of American gridiron football. I'm a huge NFL fan. Obviously, like I live in
Eagles,
PA,
I assume.
Eagles fan, but I'm also like what's it called? Ever since Tom Brady, if you don't know, he's like the greatest quarterback in the league. He's already retired, but ever since he played with the New England Patriots, but ever since he moved to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I got introduced to the Bucs fans and I started watching him play. But to avoid the bandwagon allegations, I just like still watch Tampa Bay playing football, and their program is doing super well right now. So yeah, you could say like a casual Eagles fan for me. You know, I grew up as an Eagles fan. You know, my family, cousins are Eagles fans, but I also watch other teams play. So like I watch the Chiefs, like they're really good. The Baltimore Ravens, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Detroit Lions. So yeah, I'm a huge football fan, and one of my goals, God willing, in my life is basically work in the sports industry. And then last summer, there's a sports analytics team called Pro Football Focus, and then I just basically they had like an open internship, if you call it, or fellowship. It just like helps you collect data, and that's what I did during the summer. Just get stepping into like the sports industry. So
yeah, it's interesting that all the data that's coming in. I think it kind of got famous with Moneyball, the movie about it. It's baseball in the United States, and it was the Oakland A's, right? Where they were using analytics and this player is underpriced. He has a certain skill set. We can get him on a contract for relatively cheap compared to star players. And from there, kind of data's been, I guess it depends on which sport and period of time too, but data has just been growing in importance too. And I guess while we were talking about this, it's interesting to think about DraftKings and what's the other big one? I guess it doesn't matter, but
FanDuel,
yeah,
MGM,
yeah. So
I think ESPN made their own called ESPN Bet.
Yeah, so I don't gamble. I tell people that I'm a statistician by training. That would be like being a doctor that smokes. It would be bad based on my practice because I know the odds aren't in my favor. But it's kind of interesting to think about. Have you ever heard of Susquehanna International Group?
I heard of it, but I don't know what they do.
Yeah, they're kind of secretive. So they do quantitative trading. They're in Susquehanna, Pennsylvania. And for those that don't know, you could just Google them. They one of the things that they did early on, I don't know much about them because they are secretive, but I heard that they were making bets on sports bets, but they had PhDs looking at this. So you might have a cricket game in Mumbai and some betting place had it priced incorrectly. And then like, oh, okay, if we place a bet on this, the probability of winning is going to be X. And and they were very early on into it, but I would have to think now that kind of tying this into sports analytics, the people at DraftKings or FanDuel or ESPN, MGM, I assume that they all have data scientists and statisticians that are helping them price these bets. So how do you price the over under on the Eagles Chiefs? Or I know some places are minute, and like, how do you price a parlay? So it's really interesting, and I think it's gotten probably harder and harder over time to successfully gamble and make money on sports.
Yeah, it's like a big topic going on right now because, like, you know, if you watch like an ESPN show, it's like this program is sponsored by DraftKings or their own ESPN bet, and they talk about like the upcoming football game. Obviously, it's like really popular. Like the NBA playoffs going on right now, and it's like I watched yesterday. I just watched the Pacers versus Knicks game. And it was a really good game, but before
all I know is the Knicks lost because all my friends, a lot of my friends are in Philly, so it's, you know, you have the PA New York rivalry. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but like there are like sports shows or like ads on YouTube, sponsors. They talk about the game, and then they sponsor like the sports book. So I was like, okay, it happens, but it was really popular right now. My biggest concern though is like you gotta be educated before you do it. Just like if you want to invest in stocks. So obviously, since it's like they got like the rules disclaimer at the end, and I don't know, it's like it's illegal for some sports books in some states in the country, but yeah, it's like a popular topic right now. So
yeah. I will also say that sports gambling is significantly more risky than stocks, just to put it out there. But yeah, it is really interesting. And there was an NBA player that got in trouble for it, right? Like the past year or two.
Yeah, I forgot his name, but I think he got suspended. But it's obvious NBA players should not do it because like they're the person to like try and make the plays, the bets, like being part of the bet. So it's being able to bet basically is like you could like put the odds in their favor and like they'll win instantly. So for example, for like there's these thing called prop bets, or it's like if you have these like bets you made of like a player of doing this certain thing, if you're doing this successfully, you win, or if it's like over under. So say like this player get like 21 points over under if like a star player, and you know if a player does that, and if like the favorite is bigger than the underdog, so if it's like if the under is the favorite, no, if the over is the favorite, the player could pick the under and then just score less than 21 points intentionally, which is super unfair. So obviously, like the NBA, NFL have huge restrictions. There's a conspiracy going on, like the refs are doing it. If you heard of it. Like the NBA refs
I know,
or the NFL.
Yeah, I know in the 2000s, ref got in trouble. But I was also going to say, so I think it's called point shaving. Like what you're talking about is if you're within a margin for over under, you can either hit the over or hit the under. And I know back in the 1950s, like this is nothing new. It was a college team from New York that was point shaving. So they made sure that they scored a little less, I think, in order for the gamblers to get the payoff. And I'm not sure. I have a very, as I've grown older, sports, there's a very significant cultural impact, and it unites people, and it's great. But like for me personally, like sports has just over time gotten less important.
Yeah, so I don't condone sports gambling. Obviously, like if you don't have the lack of knowledge, not like how to do it, but also like the sport that you try and bet on. If you don't have like both of these, like use good knowledge or like good research, like in stocks, and like you said, is way riskier, then you're gonna lose money either way. But yeah, sports it unites people. That's one thing I really like about it. So you know, different people. Like I remember when like the Eagles won the Super Bowl back in 2018. It's like the city, even though everyone's united, even though the city got torn down when the Eagles won, because it was the first Super Bowl. I remember I remember I was watching with my dad and my brothers, and we were like, and it's we were like joyful because we thought like the Patriots was about to win it, and then I just came out of the bathroom, and then it was like, wait, Eagles got the lead, and it was like 2 minutes. It was crazy. It
Nick
was like one
Foles
of my
pulled it
best
out.
memories. Nick Foles with that right end at the end of the half, that touchdown was crazy. Brandon Graham helping out with the sacking Tom Brady. That was great. But yeah, the city once rally and the parade was like awesome. It was like everyone was like part of it, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Sports is really dope.
I'll throw a picture in here. I went to the parade, and I was one of the people that climbed a traffic light because when am I going to be able to do that again? So especially in Philly, so I got to climb a traffic light. My buddies were down there near Center City. It was also wild too because everybody was just within a few inches of each other. And you kind of hear about the crushes. It kind of felt like that at points where you just had so many people pushing up against you. It's like, oh man, I can't breathe right now. It's wild.
Dude, yeah. When the Eagles won that Super Bowl, I know the Eagles won this Super Bowl. I was happy about that. But I know Eagles got 2 Super Bowls, but I think the 2017 season, but the Eagles win the Super Bowl, it was like magical, man. The city got torn down because, I think that was like a long time Philadelphia won like a sports title. I think the last time Philly won a sports title before the 2018 Super Bowl was the Phillies.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I was a kid, but I remember like my dad, he has like Philly hats on during that time. Everyone was wearing red. Yeah, but I was a kid, so I couldn't remember watching the game. But by that 2018 Super Bowl, man, bro, it was the dope is insane. Everyone was like going crazy. I think I was in high school. They called off school. My school was off during the parade. I didn't went to the parade. I watched on TV, but it was magical, man. And I think like ever since then, I started getting invested into sports. I did like basketball, soccer, MMA. I used to be a huge. You don't have to call it as a sport because it's like predeterministic, but I was a huge WWE fan when I was a kid, and then later on I took a break for it. But now WWE is like everywhere on the news, and then like I started watching it. They had a WrestleMania in Philadelphia last year. I watched the PLE. It was really good. It was like,
yeah. I never got into WWE, but they are athletes. It takes a lot out of you to do it, and not only do they do it, but really athletic endeavors. But they have the longest season out of everybody. I think the vast majority, like 300 days out of the year, they're doing WWE related activities. It's wild.
Like when I was a kid, I thought wrestling was real, and when I found out it wasn't, because when I was a kid, right, and when I saw the Undertaker like raising up from the ground, I had nightmares, man. But when I found it was like fake, fake meaning is like, yeah, there's some moves they do is fake for safety reasons. Like I don't know how a wrestler wrestles each week after like chopping off like a 20-foot ladder. Like I don't know how you do that. If you do that in real life, then it's like without all like the cues, all the calls. I don't know, like how's that guy still standing next week, bro? Yeah, like he should be in his home resting from like surgery. But but like I found it was disappointed. But today it was wrestling is like the wrestling community is like really good, right? I'm not part of it, but it's like really good currently, and especially when like podcasts going on. I've seen like these old wrestlers that I grew up with, like the Undertaker. They do podcasts and they just talk about the back end portion of these shows. So they talk about how like, there's a good guy and a bad guy in the ring, but in the business wise of things, they're working together like a team. So they'll entertain the crowd. And that's how they do in the back end. And I heard cool stories about it. So it's like a really unique industry going on for entertainment. The one big comparison I think of WWE is like it's like theater.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is scripted, predeterministic. Like there's a good guy, bad guy, there's a plot, but you just add some acrobatics to it. So like I made this cool analogy. Like at the end of like a theater show, like Hamilton, or they like at the end, like everyone's holding hands, they bow down, and the curtain close. Plot a good ending. Or it's like everything's safe and that stuff. Like when they like people flying over, they have like wires and that stuff to just make sure like everyone's got hurt. WWE is like the beginning of the show is like they talk bad about each other, and then they fight at the end, and you see one guy jumping off a 20-foot ladder, or like just jumping off like throwing that person through a skill like a table, or basically like powerbomb a dude off the ropes. And then I was like, like if someone do that to me, man, I don't know, like you gotta have like pretty calm and focused after you like get those moves. And I know like some of them are fake, but there's other things that are like actually just real. So I saw clips back in the day where wrestlers they grab a steel chair and it hit them with the head, and they actually like
no.
they actually get hit in the head. I think right now like they like put their hands in front of their head like and then the camera work is insane, right? Because you want to make it look real. And I don't know, like people, the moves they do, they try to make sure it makes safe, but the camera movements, the camera guys gotta make sure if it's real, like they're actually hitting. So I've learned a lot from that industry, and like ever since I was a kid, I was like a fan. You know, Batista was what is my favorite wrestler when I was a kid growing up. But other than that, like it's popular right now. I see like Triple H, who's like the head of WWE. He basically went to podcasts that I watch, talk to people, talk about the industry when he wrestled, and is super unique, man. And I know that recently, so I know Vince McMahon. He used to be the chairman of WWE. WWE used to be a public company, but now it got, I think, 2 years ago, it got bought by Endeavor, who also owned UFC. So it's owned by
I
Endeavor,
do
and
vaguely
then
remember that.
yeah, and then I think they formed a group called like the TKO Group, and that they own WWE. So it's now like a private company. But ever since then, the industry is doing super well, in my opinion. The events are doing well. They're now doing more international. That's the last time I heard. So more, it's not like a United. It's like it's not popular in the U.S. It's popular across the world.
Yeah,
So it's a unique, it's an awesome industry. So.
I could see it translating better internationally because MMA. I'm like my sports are really boxing and MMA, and both of those are really international and have always been because fighting is kind of universal, and I kind of put WWE in that fighting category. But while we're still on WWE, do you know Macho Man Randy Savage?
Yeah, man. I was a early 2000 baby, so I didn't watch him obviously, but I watched clips of him and Hulk Hogan going off about it. I like his gimmick. I like his outfit as well, with like the sparkling cowboy hat and then like the outfit and then the move set and then the bandana he has, like the tie-dye bandana is like really dope.
I have to do the Macho Man voice. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can you do Hulk Hogan?
No. Whenever I think of Hulk Hogan, I think of, do you know the gif of him with, I think, a guitar, like I think it's like an American flag guitar or something. I just always think of that gif. But yeah, no, one of my good friends loves Macho Man, and I got into Macho Man because of him. But yeah, he's really funny.
I know, like I have older friends who grew up in the '90s. They were huge fans of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah,
if you don't know, he's just a guy. I don't know how he got popular. He was basically like currently. I don't know if you call people the greatest wrestler of all time. It was like basically of the craft they do, but also how they do with the fans. Because it's predeterministic, so there's no like sports to it. But if you're like really popular during that time and people know you, Stone Cold is like the best that WWE has to offer. He's basically a guy that drink beers and like in a redneck Texas rattlesnake like gimmick, and he just like he hates like authority, so he just like
Is that
he
that
just
was
like does his Stone Cold Stunner, which is his finisher, to like Vince McMahon and anyone, and he's like, like I don't care attitude, rebellious attitude, and he's like the popular like wrestler in like the late '90s, early 2000s, and also The Rock. Like ever since Dwayne Johnson became a movie star, he was popular in WWE. I saw like clips of him when he had the hair and that stuff,
yeah.
but he was hilarious in his like mic skills, but it's
He's
super cool.
he's a megastar. He's definitely superseded wrestling. But
Dude.
all right, shifting back to like computer science and AI and ML. We mentioned before you're going for your master's degree. I know you're learning about a variety of different fields. So you mentioned HCI, human computer interaction, artificial intelligence, the ethics of AI, large language models, limitations of these models. What are some advanced concepts that you've learned so far in the program that you've really enjoyed?
So based on the curriculum on my master's program, I'm doing a master's in computer science, and I graduated a bachelor's in the same major as well at the same school, Temple University. Basically, it's just an extension to the bachelor's program. So basically, when I was an undergrad, I know the superficial level of machine learning, um, AI, which is can be connected to machine learning, programming.
It's
But
I will say it's so hard for me to define it, and I'm a machine learning engineer, AI, because I think a lot of just regular people that don't do ML or any programming at all, they think of ex machina type, just totally actual like full. I'm blanking on the term now. The full just AI can do everything on its own, and it's like it's just linear algebra.
yeah, just linear algebra and like math and then using data. But AI, I know it's really big right now, but AI used to be a thing like back in like the 1980s and that stuff. If you call it, I forgot the
Yeah.
definition.
Well, I
I don't know.
know neural networks were being developed
It,
around the 80s.
yeah, and neural networks is being used like right now part of AI, but it's basically a machine learning technique that uses like nodes and then has data input go through, output coming out, and then they have many nodes after each layer to type that to have like a like answer or product to be used. That's like my definition of it, but it's like I know like AI uses as that. But yeah, AI been AI like I know is like doing things on their own, but it's also like they need the knowledge needed to actually do it. So like for example, like ChatGPT is a large language model, and it needed like you gotta find data first before coming with the answers. So when the users enter the prompt, it finds the answers that like the information needed and form an answer and outputs it to the user. So data is one big like portion needed for like AI to work. Like yeah. So it cannot
Yeah.
do it on its own. I know like
Yeah.
I've
Uh,
seen the news of like it's called AGI. I
yeah,
think that's the
that's
topic.
the one I blanked.
Yeah.
Artificial general intelligence,
Yeah.
where you have a now agent is also a very popular term, kind of when you look in tech circles or pseudo tech circles, and yeah, that it could do things on its own. It's,
Yeah. It's but AI is being used like it's a big thing, when ChatGPT was popular. I think you told me it was you used this in like 2022, right?
Yeah, I think when I was using it, it was more for fun, like prompting it. I'm trying to remember when Dolly came out because I think Dolly came out shortly after. So that's OpenAI's image generator, and I was mostly just trying to make funny images from Dolly, but I when I was programming, and I mostly do data science, machine learning, I didn't really use it until last year, like seriously using it for helping me troubleshoot coding. But I mean, I heard good things back in 2022. I guess I was just also personally skeptical of it. But, and there's still issues with LLMs. They make mistakes that you have to, it's kind of what I tell people is it's just an additional Google search. It's an additional tool that you have. It's not the end all be all tool. That I don't know that we'll ever have anything like that, but it is very useful. It helps me. Like, I don't know if you've had to deal with like huge error log files, but it's really good in helping me parse through that. Instead of doing regex, you just give it to ChatGPT. It's like, hey, what's the error here? Help me troubleshoot.
Yeah. I remember when I started using ChatGPT. So before they have the paywall, is like used to be free for everyone, right? And it used to be slower. And then you have to, if you use it more often, you have to be in like a long queue. So when I first started in early 2023, I heard like friends use it. I heard my professor start using it. It's like, oh, okay, why not use it? And when I first used it, it's like, bro, this is insane. It's like Google search, but way efficient. But yeah, during that time, the margin of error is like pretty big. So it was like, I remember that time I tried like add like a math for like a calculus formula. It did terrible on it. So, but I use it for like a machine learning project for my class because the professor was like totally down on it. Like use ChatGPT because it's a new thing during that time, and it helped me completed my assignments like quicker. But also one thing I used a lot was teaching like learning using AI to learn like what it gave me. So, um, I was I was doing it. I forgot the machine learning assignment, but um it was like a classification problem we had to write, and it was a bunch of CSV files that we have to import as our data, and then like we just basically like, hey, I have this prompt. What machine learning method I should use, and if you give me the code in Python, what libraries I have to import, and if I don't import them, I just ask him is like how to import like sklearn, for example, or matplotlib for data visualization, or pandas for like or cleaning up the data. I was like, okay, and it just gave me the directions there. It was like way quicker than like going on Google and then going to like the pandas website or matplotlib website, go through the 20-page documentation, finding what you need to know. It's like made the process quicker. And I think like since then it made me learning new things quicker as well. So that's like my take and begin. But right now, the accuracy is super high for the 4.0 model. I know they have more powerful models, but I don't think you gotta pay for them. But for like the LLM 4.0 model, it's multi-model, meaning you can import files like PowerPoints, documents. You could, it has that DALL-E aspect, so it could generate images. It can also generate spreadsheets as well, and you could like they basically like retain that information, so you could give them better context easier. So it is, I still use it to this day, but I don't like, based on my experience I had for a long time, I know how to use it efficiently because I know that AI is like LLM, like ChatGPT, they make mistakes, and you gotta use like prompt engineering. It's a skill needed to write like good big prompts. Need like good writing skills so the model could like understand it and it give out like a good response. So based on like, let's go 22 3 years of using ChatGPT, you could call me like a pro at it. No flex. I don't know if it's a flex, but I know like use it as well. I know everyone uses it. And now it's like a major skill that like people who does not have no experience tech to use it for like their businesses or their projects or in school or in life as well. Like content, I know like content creators use it for like YouTube content. So it's like it's really popularized right now because of how efficient it is. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting topic.
It's definitely good. There's sometimes I still think you need some sort of base knowledge for it. So maybe like I learned Python. That's what I mostly program with. I From those concepts, I could take that and kind of when I'm talking to ChatGPT about I'm using Go for the back end for a project I'm working on, just for personal project, and just the experience I have with Python, I could like, see what the output is from ChatGPT if I'm prompting it for some sort of solution or script for something, and be like, this doesn't look right, or there's an issue with the import or something like that. So it's a good learning tool, but like everything, I do think that there's still some value in kind of going back, reading documentation, and kind of going through the old school way of programming. And then once you get it, it's also a lot harder too, because it's so tempting just to use ChatGPT to, okay, like let me type this in real quick, it'll do it for me. But it's like, it makes something. And then I've also, if I've had a long enough conversation with it, it starts hallucinating it. So if I'm like 50, 60 prompts into a conversation, it's just referencing different parts of the previous prompt I gave it rather than the new prompt. So it's like it's referencing some other script that I asked way back, but it's like, hey, I'm trying to troubleshoot this script, and then I just have to start a new conversation and tell it all about my directory structure and what scripts do what. So
about that, they recently had an update, I think came out a couple months ago, where you could group like chat threads together into projects, and then in the project directory folder you can input the files and you can add instructions. So say like you have one chat in it that's like 70 prompts long, obviously it's going to hallucinate. You could switch to it, and then you could like revise. You could basically like, I obviously like you try and make each thread short as possible to avoid hallucination. But if you could create a new thread in the project, and then you could like replace the add files. And in the beginning, I'll do like, hey, have you studied files? Like, yes. And then have you studied the previous chat? Cause like a chat has like a name, right? You can customize to. And go, yeah, it give you a summary. So I think it's their update way of avoid hallucinations and like making chat threads shorter, so people could like doesn't have to retell everything you need to do. I remember like back in like 2023, 2024, I had to do that, like, import like a screenshot of my directory, add the files, what I have for like the best context as possible for the chat, for the LLM model. So it doesn't give me like a bad answer. So, and also like, it's really good for learning. So for example, I remember I like, um, yeah, I have like this 50, like an 80 slide deck from a lecture, right? And then one thing I notice is that if you import it, chat doesn't study all 80 slides. It studies like the first like 30 or so on. So if you ask them a question about a later side, they're not going to say, I don't know, but it's going to be out of context. But what I do is like for that, is just like split it, like a partition it by like 20s. So chat will like, and then write like a note, like, hey, this is all from like one topic. And then chat will help me use it. Cause I also use it to like, after I went through the slides during lecture to summarize what I learned, I just use chat by using it that way. So it avoid hallucinations. It knows all the content, all the context needed. And I really also use it for like studying for exams as well. And also like, it gave me like cool practice problems that I could do, and then help me like using the context I give it. And then I just like give me good problems. I could do it, put my answers in it, and then like chat will help like critique me about it. Yeah, so it's like I've used like ethical ways of using AI, because like, obviously people use it for plagiarism and like try to get the answer but doesn't know what it does. So I was like, that's like one bad key of using it, but I try my very best of using it ethically, and also like use it for gaining like knowledge, understanding faster, using it more efficiently for like my projects. Because like also businesses are using AI as well. And one of my biggest concern is like hopefully they understand like the limitations of it. So the risk if they use it for like a high like priority task and it doesn't do well, well that's pretty bad for the business. So when business owners needed it, so like I've been in discussion of that of that topic because people are like using AI like if it's like the is if it's like gold, which it is. It complete like task efficiently, but it has real limitations that they need to do diligence of using it efficiently, so their business won't like fall down. There's no crashes, or does it destroy the workflows pipelines? So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. Like I said before, it's just an additional tool. You just can't build everything with a hammer, so you have to be
yeah.
careful with it. So it's
There's no. My many professors told me like there's no free lunch, so it's like you can't use everything ChatGPT. You can use it to learn, but that's technically like you learning using the web. But if you just use everything ChatGPT and you don't have like you don't learn anything from it or you don't gain some knowledge, obviously it's gonna fail like at a certain challenge point. But yeah, I say like for all those out there that use ChatGPT, use it wisely. You could use it to learn a lot new things, but don't try to do it ethically as well. Because if you want to use it for like a project and you don't want to like care about learning about it, you're gonna deal with like a lot of issues at the end. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, one other thing I want to talk about at Temple is you entered at the Temple Human Computer Interaction, also known as the HCI Lab. What is human computer interaction, and what are some of the things that you focused on there?
so human computer interaction or ACI is the study of how people interact with computers and other digital technologies. It focuses on making computers and software easy, efficient, and enjoyable for people to use by designing better UIs and experiences. It brings together knowledge from computer science, psychology, design, and other fields to understand users' needs and create technology that fits naturally into people's daily lives. So that's the main goal of ACI. And I work in the ACI lab. My principal investigator is Dr. Stephen Neal. He does a really good job like just managing all the projects because we had a bunch of projects and this lab been very successful. I don't know the number, but we publish a lot of like the lab published a lot of papers for like past years and it went to different like popular conferences across the globe, and it's just like this topic is really like new because of like the use topics in AI but also like technology as well, and like just making people's lives better of like solving creating like identifying problems, addressing it, try and make good solutions to it, and like any limitations challenges try to overcome that. So that's like what we do in ACI is just basically make sure that people enjoy using technology in all different domains. So
Nice.
that's the simple answer of it.
Is there anything you worked on in particular?
So I'm currently like I work on a project with like data visualization. So I worked on like with a PhD student. He was a lead. He basically like it was a study of basically of the three methods of if I don't know anything about how to read a graph or how to identify what a graph is and the parts of it in the context of a paper or like a news article online, then like we just basically use like three methods of it critiquing like each the performance of how if the user gained knowledge well from the methods. But the one of the paper that did successfully that I was a part of, um, It's it's the it's the all roads leads to ChatGPT.
Oh
How
yeah,
generative
yeah. I'll
that one?
yeah. Oh, so that was part of HCI.
Yeah, that was part of ACI. We collaborated with a student from USD University of San Diego, but It's all roads like ChatGPT, how generative AI is eroding social interaction in student learning communities. That paper recently got accepted and published by the 2025 ITICSE conference in the Netherlands. It's coming up this June, but it got accepted. And it's like, I'm blessed and grateful to be part of the project, and with great members as well, great team. But that paper was really interesting because
Yeah,
it's currently like,
we can jump into that because I read it. I have questions about it, so we could get into it if you want to give a high level overview of what the paper's about.
yeah, we could do that. So the paper looks at how more students are using generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, instead of asking classmates or professors for help. So back in my day, like pre-ChatGPT, if you want to call it, if you're part of a course and you need help, you go to office hours with like a teacher assistant or a professor, and you just like help them with your homework. You know, I remember when I took Calculus 2 in Temple, I went to a bunch of office hours online, and yeah, and also the web as well. But if you want more context, like I just hit up with the professors and then they'll help me out. But now more students with the use of ChatGPT and the ability to like able to learn more, and the features of like helping students with their homework or their projects or help them study for exams. More students, or there's a trend of more students relying that more other than like in human help. So using help from their students, peers, teacher assistants, professors, and yeah, because of this, students are starting to feel more alone, less motivated, and not as connected to their learning communities. So for the experiment, we interviewed 17 computer science students from 7 major research universities. All of them are R1 in North America. We asked them about their
R1 meaning
use.
that it's high level. They do research papers. They have a PhD program.
Yeah,
Just to give a background on that.
Yeah, they're like accredited universities that really notable of like producing good works of research. So we asked for the interviews, we asked them about their use of AI tools, how they seek help, and how their social learning habits have changed. One of the key stats is that only 8 out of 17 students said they're using generative AI tools daily. Many students felt peer interactions dropped, and even group chats like Discord became quieter as more people turned to AI instead of each other, right? Like I said before, is like more people turn to AI rather than human help. One of the big key takeaways is that while tools like ChatGPT can be helpful, they may be quietly breaking down the friendships, mentorships, and social support systems that help students succeed in school. And one of the big takeaways, like at the end of the paper, is that educators, like professors or faculty who creates curriculum, need to find a balance between using AI and keeping strong human connections and learning. So because people in college, you gain the most out of college if you play your cards right. So you need to have more social interactions. You got to build out relationships and also boost their social skills, which are needed in like post college, like in your work, in your life. But with like the use of AI, many students are relying more on that. They're getting less opportunities of like more social interactions, which are needed. And we just this paper just brings awareness to basically have more social interactions in colleges, because I know like students who in colleges, they went to high school during the pandemic and that stuff, so they're always in their homes taking classes, but and then they switch to like high school, like in person classes, and then switch to college. But I think I've seen like kids that like they tend to be shy. One of the interviewers said like they feel judged or they feel shameful of using AI for their work. 'Cause they thought like that people think of like thinking that like they're stupid and using it, like they're not smart. Other people thinking that like they're afraid, scared of talking to professors or TAs for help because the same thing, they thought that they'll think they're stupid, like, but even though it's not true, like the professor's goal is to basically help the students. with any question they have in regards to the stuff they're teaching them. So it's a study that we did. It was super viral when we published the paper, because it's a big topic in like all universities, but also in like businesses as well, right? Well, I know these kids, they're going to about to be in companies, so they need the skills of being more social. They need to have those communication skills, and you got to get trained by it in college. But with this going on, it's basically taking away the opportunity to do stuff. So they won't be like fine. It will be tough for them when they come out of college. So that's like the paper is basically bringing awareness to this topic, and it's been pretty popular since it deals with AI learning.
Yeah, it's hearing more and more conversations about how this affects learning, less so about interactions. So that's definitely interesting, and that is unique compared to, I guess, the biggest worry about right now is that students are just using this to get the answers rather than focusing on the social aspect, which is really interesting. So I'm also teaching. I just wrapped up the semester. When I created the syllabus for my stats course, one of the things that the department required me to do is in my syllabus define how students can use generative AI. You could set it from no generative AI to fully generative AI. It was pretty for my syllabus. I let them use it for homeworks, labs. The only time I didn't allow students to use it was for exams. That I'm just kind of curious if I know in the paper you focused on the students, but have you had any casual conversations or in general conversations with professors about their thoughts on generative AI in the classroom?
So yeah, I have like good connections with faculty people in Temple because I used to like be a research assistant to some of them. Also, like graduate professors who like teach them at graduate professors have good expertise in this area. But one thing they knew is that it was just like pretty common is that if a student use it for like just doing their homework by themselves and without getting anything, you can see a student does well on like their classes or not based on like the performance of their final exam or midterm exam, right? So say like, hey, the homework sum is pretty good, but they got a low grade on the final exam. That means like there's something off. But I told him like I told one of my friends, he's in masters in CS as well. He read the paper and he just gave me like good questions about it. And one question he told me was, what's one game plan you have to if you have the chance to talk to professors how to like make their course syllabus better. So
I'm
like
listening.
students could like do well on like actually like use critical thinking or like basically gain the knowledge you have other than like just put in LLM and get the answers. And then I told him it's like, okay, this does have to be applied to every course. It should be applied to the intro courses. So I'm talking about freshman students, sophomore, early juniors. Based on my experience of doing the bachelor's program at Temple, one thing I know is that if you restrict the policies AI at the beginning, so that's for freshmen and sophomores, because in college, like most typical college format is like the freshman, sophomore, early junior is basically like, yo, I gotta do well in my classes, right? Invest my time in classes. While like the late junior, senior is like, yo, I could do well in my classes to pass, but also I want to gain knowledge. I want to find internships. I want to find a full-time job. So if you deal with like the first half of what I talked about, because like they were like when students come to college, they're like stressing, they worry about like, oh, I want to get A's and B's into classes, I want to pass. And like I'm blessed of like being like a lucky spot of like pre GPT in my freshman, sophomore, early junior, before ChatGPT was a thing. I learned like, doing researching on the web, reading documentation, completing homework efficiently, asking for help. And then after GPT, like, yeah, I talk to people and that stuff, but usually those later ending courses like Capstone or like high level courses, it's all based on prerequisite knowledge from your first portion of the program. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I really agree with you there. Like you have the base knowledge freshman and sophomore year where you're reading documentation. So you're going to the python.org or PyPI to understand the standards, or PEP, whatever. And you actually read through it, maybe even a textbook.
yeah,
And then, so like, yeah, so I really agree with that. I was listening to a podcast and somebody made a really good point of, right now, I don't quite know, because I'm actually paying for two subscriptions. I'm paying for Gemini and ChatGPT, but somebody was saying that they have these deals for students where it's free for 6 months, free for a year, and you kind of get hooked on it. Then it's like, okay, this free subscription's over. You have to start paying. And then they're in a situation like, oh, I don't know how to do this without ChatGPT or Gemini. So that, like, I think the point that you're making is, I tend to agree with it, and that's kind of how I would format it if I could as well.
yeah, and also, so going over a conversation, he also told me like, based on the courses we took in our undergrad, what you're going to change even more specifically, right? And he'd be like, and I told him, one good comparison I could do with this is like calculus classes, so or math courses. So the reason why I picked them, because most of the classes I took regarding math is like, you have modules, and then module one you learn. Module two, you need to prereq knowledge of module one in order to do it, understand module two. And it's module three, same thing. You need to understand both module one and two for three. And that's how like my calculus courses go. So the simple solution of basically like forcing kids to like use critical thinking and actually committed to their homework is basically increase the weight of like final exams and midterms. However, I know that in the workforce, you know, you could use like, depending on like the company's policies, you gotta like use a lot of self-learning to do what you need to do. So the portion I talked about with like the freshmen, sophomores, early juniors, those classes are like knowing the introduction of like what your major is, right? So in a specific, if we talk about computer science, talk about programming, you talk about like object-oriented programming, operating systems, talk about intro to machine learning, math like courses as well, like linear algebra. For those courses, if a professors like make that format where you can understand like the module one, module two, module three, like I talked about before, because in calculus, one thing when I took a calculus class is like, I say I'm on module three, right? And then I completed it. I took like a quiz for it, understand it, right? And it's like, say like I could use a calculator. I don't use a calculator for like the quiz, right? So don't use a calculator at all. You gotta like solve the problem. But it just forced me to use my skills that I learned to pass the quiz, but also gain some knowledge. However, when I go to module three, the professor, they'll be like, "Oh, the thing that we learned in module two, you could do that easily using a calculator." Or you could use that using a short, simple method that does the same thing. The reason why I told you that is so you could gain the skills needed for like your foundation of like calculus. So I think it got me a bit disappointed from doing that. However, I know like the foundation of like previous modules. So later modules, I also know like how to do it in a calculator, but also how to do it like without a calculator, right? So with that strategy for math professors, how about what if we use that for computer science programs? So those courses that freshmen, sophomore, early juniors you took, how about we do that? And instead of using a calculator, you can use ChatGPT. And like I said before, increasing the weights of exams will give students like force you like motivation to do it, commit to the homework, do on exams, but also during that time, like I said, they're like stressing out about grades and want to pass. So it's basically no problem for the students of now using like ChatGPT and like passing the courses. Because right now, early students who like have no foundational experience in programming go to ChatGPT to complete the work, which is really bad if you want to take high level courses. With so doing that will be really fine. I don't recommend doing that like no generative AI for the later courses, so like late juniors, seniors, because they're also like they're trying to find jobs and that stuff, and you could use the freedom use of ChatGPT and that stuff, AI models. However, since like in this case, if like say like a student went through a program with what I just talked about, they gain like critical knowledge, they use critical thinking, they gain the knowledge, they have a good foundation of computer science concepts at their first, or at least like the first half of their program. And when they turn to a late junior or like a senior, they already have that foundation, and they could like you can have the freedom of them use generative AI. But since they already know the ethics of AI, they also know the limitations of it. They know user how to use it efficiently because they know like the errors of using it or avoiding plagiarism and use it for learning because they have a good foundational experience in the early term of their college experience. So with that, I think that's like a good solution I told about, and he really liked it. I think I didn't talk to one of my faculty yet, but for those who like watch this podcast, I don't know what they're gonna think about it, but I think it's a really good concept of it because if you take something out of the students in the earlier term and you gain something like a good foundation easily, well, not easily, but if they want to pass classes, make it harder for students in the beginning, and at the end they already got the foundation, and therefore give them the privilege of using ChatGPT AI, so they go learn more way quicker because they already know like the basic rules of gaining knowledge and gaining they have that good foundation. So that's the like the solution, like the proposal I gave to him using like text, and he really liked it because he also worked with professors. He did like some of his projects. He did like teaching as well, lecturing to like um low level students taking low level courses. So I think yeah, that's like the solution I came up with, and it's all referenced from like how math professors use it because the syllabus for like calculus courses is like huge amount of weights on like the exams, less amount of weights on like homework assignments and that stuff. So it gives people the courage and motivation to study. If we apply that, and also if you applied it to here, I think it will be very helpful for like students. So overall, what I'm saying is that make the curriculum for students harder for not using generative AI, you know, teaching them of how to use generative like LLM models efficiently for learning right during that time. And then the students that pass their classes using studying, using the internet, like we used before when we're undergrad, when they reach, um, high level courses, about being seniors or in the senior year, then those professors give them like the courage to use AI because they know the ethics already. They know the do's and don'ts, and they all have that foundation of a technical background, and they know that AI already makes mistakes. And if they get a response, to be like, "Oh, hey, that line is wrong. Can you do it again?" And then I think that's a really good idea for students to come in because more students will use AI and it's not good. And they're not using critical thinking skills. And in the paper, they're not using like more social experiences for communication skills as well. So I think that's like one thing that just came up to my mind. I told him and he really liked it. So
Nice. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I guess the last question I have on this is, have you thought about building upon your research paper and conducting a larger scale survey?
I don't know yet. Obviously the conference is in June. Um, I think one of the heads, she'll be able to just if she have any future steps out to direct towards the project, because this is a really popular topic, there's a high chance that we're gonna move forward with the project, like expand it. But yeah, it was a great project, and I'm blessed that it got passed, it got accepted, and it's pretty. If if you discuss anything with AI, either in podcast or in research, or if you write like a blog, it will be popular because AI is such a big topic right now. So
Yeah, it is the hot field right now. Who knows? Maybe quantum computing is next, and AI might be old news. But since it's consumer facing, it might be around for a while. All right. One other thing I want to ask about is your current job. So you're currently working as an IT admin specialist for a financial company. It appears that you're working on troubleshooting issues on the front end. Can you talk about what the company does and also some of the things that you do to make sure that the site runs smoothly and maybe some of your everyday tasks?
So my current job is I'm a IT and administration specialist for Syndeck Investments LLC. I talked with the owner about it, but Syndeck Investments is founded by Verghese Thomas, who's like, he's a Drexel and Harvard alumni grad. And it's a Zindac Investment is a parent company founded with the idea of serving a community and the global population. So I told him, like, when I talked to him, I told him, what does like Zindac mean, right? Because Zindac is like a weird name to me. And he told me like Zindac comes from the Indian word Zindagi, which means life. And the idea behind the company is to create a positive impact to global lives. So Zindac currently serves in the manufacturing, engineering, and real estate industries. It has a manufacturing location in Hellertown, PA, named Will Apparatus, and a real estate brokerage based out of PA called Zindac Real Estate. The Whale has been in business for 55 years. It serves the glass and glass blowing industries. Zindac has been providing real estate services for the past 8 years. Verghese Thomas, the founder, views this as a journey to continue to serve the industry in a positive manner and give back to a growing world. So that's what's the mission for Zindac Investments. My first assignment is that I work with the people at Whale Apparatus, and I just work on like maintaining the website. So they have their e-commerce, whaleapparatus.com, and then it's basically, if you have anything regarding to like glass rated, they have other ways. Like they also have clients from like shipping and big packs as well. But I mainly deal with like maintaining the website. So it uses it's a front end website. So HTML, CSS, JS is their basic languages. It has a content management system of basically dealing with the backing of things. So it has their own database. You use this to exceed CMS. Also check for SEO details because, for e-commerce websites, if someone search up for a product, the goal for like Google is make sure your company website, like the URL to that product from your website, should be on the top searches. I also like play well with Google Analytics to check like traffic, users, exceeding. But my current assignment is basic. I was basically just changing the prices for these products through a database called Sage 100, and also through Exceed CMS. And then, yeah, so that's currently my assignment. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's like a lot of math to it, so a lot of calculations. But overall, very, very great people over there. It's in Hellertown, PA, and yeah, I got, based on their mission for Zidek, I was like totally down for it. It's because I want to gain experience, like IT, but also I also gain experience in like running a business as well. Because we just talked about like make sure the orders are in, just update the prices to the website, make sure there's not any bugs or fixes. So that's currently my first assignment. It's been pretty enjoyable right now. And I started it like not a while ago. So I got, right now, like I'm enjoying it a lot, and I'm extremely like grateful and blessed to be part of it.
Yeah, nice, awesome. Yeah, knowing kind of the business part of it as well as the technical side, I kind of think that anybody that's in an industry, you can't just focus on front end development, the website's running, and the cluster is fine or the database is going smoothly. You kind of have to understand the underlying business too. So that's really great that you're trying to learn that as well.
Yeah, and also from my experience in TUDev, because when we try and revitalize TUDev, I also had to like negotiate with like people from other clubs to collaborate, negotiate with companies if they are interested or not. Set up event coordinating is a huge one. Setting up meetings, emails, etc. So it started from like getting all this business skills started from that, but this one is like testing the skills I gained, but also like gaining way more, in a real life setting. So yeah, I'm just like grateful to be in it. And yeah, shout out to Varghese Thomas. He's been a hardworking guy. He's all this like companies it's like been doing well. Yeah, especially for whale operators, it's been over like 55 years. I met the owner, like the previous owners. They're really friendly. They're really nice to me. We have great relationships. And then yeah, he's showing me around like all like the warehouse of like just producing glass and different types of it. Because their main clients are like scientific laboratories and like industry companies, manufacturing companies. But yeah, it's really unique.
That's cool. And one thing I tell people is it's really useful to have just professional relationships. Like the previous podcast episode I did it with my former boss in finance, but keep in contact with people because never know what could happen down the line. Maybe you want to start a business or something else like that, or refer somebody or have them refer you. Having professional business context is really, really important. It's kind of, I know on the technical side, I'm coming from the business school for my undergrad, so that was a bit more stressed, but I think that's something that could be more stressed for technical people as well.
Also, like not only getting good connections, but also like getting good mentors. So like I said, like if you want to start a business, you can't do everything. Like you think you could do it by yourself, but you can't. So you need a mentor to like guide you, give you great advice, so you can like, save money or, want to be in this situation they went through. So it's really good. And I think that's one thing I like about podcasts, it's like these people online just talk about their experiences and they get in a lot. Like we just talked about wrestling like a few minutes ago. And then I learned it from like listening to podcasts, people who work in the industry, same thing with like NFL, etc. Also with tech as well. So it's been, yeah, getting mentors and have good relationships is really good. So you want to start something, you could like you could get the help you need from experienced people.
Yeah. Again, if you're a college student, highly recommend figuring out if your university or college has a mentorship program. Super valuable. All right, let's get into the fun questions. So, what are some of your favorite video games? I know you said you're a fan of Sleeping Dogs and Call of Duty.
Yeah, so Sleeping Dogs it's my favorite game all time I ever played. The plot is that it's based in Hong Kong, and you play as a guy named Wei Shen. He got like he was in prison in the States, and he got deported to Hong Kong. And during that time when he got deported, he's childhood friends with one of the top triad members in China, like Hong Kong, and because of that, the police want to leverage that for him. So they basically like blackmailing him. So he works as like part of like the triad, right? Because he had childhood friends who currently bosses of Hong Kong, but also he works as an undercover cop, So you have two identities, two personas, play as, and at the end, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's an awesome game. The plot is amazing. The fighting skills is also amazing. It's really, it's somewhat graphic, so I don't recommend kids playing it, but really, really
check
cool.
the ESRB.
Yeah, check it, right? But really good fighting styles. It's like martial arts, being a good shooting mechanics as well. Really great parkour, man. If you watch like, it's like if you watch like an old Jackie Chan movie, and like the ways he like does parkour is like you mimic that in the game.
That's
And then
pretty
like
cool.
they also have like aspects of like Hong Kong culture there, and like the soundtrack is pretty fire, man. When I played as a teenager, man, I didn't know what the music is, but it was fire. If you search on my YouTube soundtrack, Sleeping Dog soundtrack, it's like pretty fire. The sad thing of it is that the people who developed the game, United Front Games, shut down like a long time ago. They were in plans to create like a second game, but they shut it down. So I was disappointed. I think it's currently owned by Square Enix because when they made the game, Square Enix the publisher. So with that, I think there could be hope for a second one, but I was disappointed because it was such a great game. It's currently my best game I ever played of all time. And also for Call of Duty, man, I'm a huge Call of Duty guy. My favorite one has to be Black Ops 2. I know Jacob, when he owns a podcast, he played it as well. But
Zombies. I honestly, I don't think I even played till I was in my 20s because I kind of went through a no video game phase. And when I was getting back into it, a few of my close friends are super into it and they just destroy me when I play. So hopefully I could get a shot or two off. But man, I'm a net negative when I play COD.
yeah, I don't play zombies, but I play like multiplayer campaigns. It's awesome. But also like when I was like a kid, teenager, I also watch YouTube as well. And like during that time, a lot of YouTubers play Call of Duty as content. So I watch like people from FaZe Clan, Optic Gaming, which if you don't know are two of the biggest like gaming organizations in the United States. Um, but during that time, I also watched esports in Call of Duty, and it was like a huge culture of like playing Call of Duty and like a huge fan base of it. Um, you know, so Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is my favorite game I ever played. But unfortunately, in my opinion, based on like the current games, I like it at like the beginning, but I don't. I'm not a huge fan compared to like a long time ago when Be a Black Ops 2 came out, Modern Warfare 3, because of like I think based on like the business decisions. So the game is currently owned by Activision Blizzard, like the franchise, and the new games come out. I don't like the decision making. They're basically like all aligned with trying to make the money as most as possible. So like money first, fans last. And like they just target new players, because if you target new players, you get more sales, more downloads, and like for example, the current game they recently released, Black Ops 6. During like the first week, it was so popular. Like Twitch streamers plays it. I played it. It was really good. They also had a beta version of it like earlier. I enjoyed it. And they market like they they market really well with it, like the commercials, the ads, the sponsorships, and like the hype of the game went up. But the one thing they have problems every year is maintaining the game. The fan base go down. They use like huge like strategies for microtransactions. So like if you don't know, it's basically in-game currency they use Pi real money for. So like you get in-game content by paying the currency they have. And it was popular in Fortnite, but currently I didn't really like it. So because of all these things they made, I think the culture died off a long time ago. And one of the two biggest things that a lot of fans like always complain about all the time, but Activision Blizzard doesn't like does try does it trying to fix it was microtransactions. Like I know companies will make a lot of money out of it, but the heavy use of it is just like kills the game. Sometimes it's pay to win. I know Activision Call of Duty, they have a huge like anti-cheating thing, and I know like I think it's not pay to win in my opinion, but like other games like Destiny 2, in my opinion, like I played before, I like the game, but it's not like now technically pay to win. So like if you want like gain powerful weapons, then for that game you gotta pay. But for Call of Duty, they don't still do that, which is good. And skill based matchmaking, if for all those that know, is basically a system where it matches you if you're playing multiplayer. it matches you in a lobby with other players with a similar skill set of yours. And at first, like if you say like I got the game, right? New copy of the game. I play the first few matches. All the players like the opponents are like, easy to beat and that stuff, make it enjoyable. But if you play more often, you're gonna play more players that are similar skill set of yours, and it like ruins the experience of having fun. I think the only thing that's good is like I know even pro players is like complaining about it. Those who play Call of Duty every day for like streaming or like use it like streaming as a job by playing Call of Duty, they complain about it, because like it's like that's like the what's it called? Those type of players. I forgot the name of those type of players that like just do well every match, you know. It's called sweats. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. The
Yeah.
I'm a heavy single player guy. Like I like story mode, so I'm not a big multiplayer guy.
Off side note, just like have you played Sleeping Dogs?
I have it in my Steam library, so I'll
Play
probably
it, man.
yeah.
It's a great single player game. You're gonna like enjoy it. But yeah, those are the two people I talked about. I experienced it. It's like drenching, bro. Like when I play Call of Duty right now, I could play because like, yeah, I'm not a kid, and also like I have like other things in life. But if I play casually, man, I could play like 2 matches and I'm tired, right? Because like it's a lot of effort. It's like playing a full game of basketball. It's like a lot of effort to it in order to like have a higher score in the game. It's like crazy. So because so what I do is like I did this recently, but I've written a proposal that addresses these problems. It came up with like possible solutions to tackle it. And like God willing, if I get the chance to contact with someone at Activision Blizzard, we could like talk about it, make sure if it's feasible, not only technically but like financially as well. Because I think based on the ideas I have of a proposal, it benefits both the new players and it also the experience what I played for a long time. And I think like you just need that. I think if you fix those two things, it'll make the game better and it'll like, makes like Call of Duty awesome. So yeah. So yeah, I'm not Sleeping Dogs is my favorite game of all time. Recommend you to play it. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna stick to it. And also Call of Duty Black Ops is my favorite game. So yeah, you could call me. I used to be a heavy gamer back in the day, but now I'm like a casual, if you call it.
Yeah, awesome. I guess the last question I have is, do you have any other hobbies you want to talk about? I think you might have mentioned that you're doing badminton this summer.
Yeah, so I just recently like my older brother, he recently got like a badminton net and like rackets and then birdies. We just play around during the summer. It's a fun sport. I took a course at Temple, but a bit of it to gain like understand the rules and the skills of doing it. But yeah, badminton is like one of my favorite sports I play like casually. I also like volleyball as well, basketball, I also like working out as well, and also like taking walks. Like usually like this summer, since it's getting warmer, I like to take walks like on like hiking trails and that stuff. So it's like pretty cool, you know.
Yeah,
And then
there's some
yeah,
cool places to see in Philly. One of the things I like to do is randomly either walk around or run and check out new areas. I always enjoy that.
yeah, man.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Jeffin, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks everybody.